Happy Spiritual Sunday to you all. It's great to be back live and to be together with you, I guess really face to face. I'm going to share my experiences that I've had, but I'd like us to, before we do our affirmation, to remind ourselves that yes, as we're about to say, consciousness is everything. Essentially, there's nothing but consciousness. Because our thoughts are what determine our behavior. Our behavior determines our life. And so the only way that we can change our life, make our lives better, is by shifting our consciousness to a higher, elevated, light-like perspective. And just quickly, briefly, we know Kabbalistically that the Creator is not a being. There is no being of God. There is an intelligence of infinite light that emanates from the Creator. It is that light which fills our soul. It is that light which is the power that keeps us alive, that maintains everything in the physical world. As we entered into this physical world, when we left the endless world voluntarily, we came to achieve total bliss, to manifest, if you will, metaphorically, the wishes, the desire of the Creator. As the Kabbalists call it, to give to its creation eternal bliss. As we came here, we make use of free will. Just on a simple foundational level, the fact that humanity has been given free will to choose, be like the light or don't, and that every action we do manifests in our life. Therefore, there is no truth to the idea that God decides what happens here. The Creator shines light 24/7. It is the power that you and I use to do anything we do. But with our free will, we can use it for progress, creation, or unfortunately, you and I and every person on earth has used the power given to us called the light of God in a self-centered and therefore destructive way. So don't look to a being called God to save you. Because one, there is no being. There is only the emanator of light. And then there's the way we use that light. So yes, it is the light that takes away darkness as we let it emanate into our world, into our lives. Or it is the light as a person uses it in a negative way, egocentric, reactively, that will create chaos that is meant to wake people up remind them that there is a true eternal perfection that you, me, and they can manifest, which is why we're here. For me, as I will share with you, it's become all the more clear how essential it is for more and more people to understand the fundamentals of the wisdom of Kabbalah, essentially Kabbalah 1, maybe 1 and 2, and then live their life according to those universal laws. Because those are the unifying laws. How I use this system, how you use the system, is our free will. But the system is the same. Okay, well, let's, yes. Oh, great. Look at this. Okay, so let's do our affirmation. We'll say it together to raise us to another level of not only understanding that consciousness is everything, but also engraving in our heart and our soul and our mind this truth that we use it to the next higher level of our potential. So together, consciousness is everything. I raise my consciousness today to see the miracles and wonders of life. I commit myself to behave with greater love, compassion, and kindness towards all human beings. And so, let me just read quickly something that I found, as we usually do, from Karen's book, Simple Light. Thought it was apropos to what I want to share with you today. Life is full of ups and downs. When we are down, we question the existence of the light. But the reason there is no light is because we are not allowing it in. We are not allowing it to shine. Our envy, jealousy, and anger block the light from coming into our lives. To connect to the light, we have to understand that the dark times are opportunities for us to collect our negative energy and transform it, meaning transforming it to light, removing the veil that makes it look like it's a dark time. But remember that the Satan, the challenger, the AI program in our head, doesn't want us to reach this level of consciousness. So we need to decide right now to cling to our spirituality and to fight our Satan, the challenger, the ego, that AI program in our head. As long as the down is not as far as the up, we are winning the war. Meaning, the more we are acting like the light, the more we shine light in the moments of our darkness, then the faster we're taking away the darkness, the pain, the suffering, the death, and the chaos, and allowing the light that we shine into the world to reveal, to manifest as harmony, order, peace, love, and unity. And so, I just had some pretty amazing experiences. Many of you know that I made a trip to Israel. I was supposed to go for celebrations. There was a wedding, there were a bar and a bat mitzvah, there was opportunities to visit the graves of the righteous people, which most of you know are energy vortexes. Because a righteous person is somebody who's manifested all of their soul's light. And therefore, even when they're buried in the ground, there's a piece of that soul's perfect revelation of light, that 100% of what the Creator put inside them that's shining out that we can have access to give us greater strength to manifest our 100% light and have eternal peace and love and bliss and harmony and unity. And so that was what I thought was my objective. To go have some celebration, get some added support from the graves of the righteous Kabbalists. And as most of you do know, we got caught in the midst of what they're calling the Iran war. So in all the times that I've been in Israel, it's the first time that I've been had this experience. The sirens went off. We heard that Israel had, sent whatever, the bombs, etc., over there to Iran. They were sending it back, and the sirens would go off, meaning run to the sheltered, run to the protected areas. But what happened, yes, it's tragic and unfortunate that these things still go on. When we have the solution, we have the ways and means to stop it all. It's simple, but it's not easy. As I've learned for almost 40 years, and you and I speak about very often, the Kabbalists, my teachers, the Rav and Karen, often said, you walk into a dark room, there's nothing that will take away the darkness except a form of light. We look at the chaos of this world, we see the pain and suffering is darkness. The solution is light. The solution is not diplomacy, military actions, or anything like that. The solution is the same. The light of God shining out by our conscious effort to shine light out into the world to every human being on earth. That will take away the chaos. What I saw, sirens went off, there was, Israel basically closed down, so all the events that we had planned were shut down. First thing we saw in the next 2 days was the flexibility of the students of the center. There were about 600 people who had made the effort to be there from all around the world to visit the righteous and also to celebrate these wonderful events. But because 600 people, we had an event, venue, meals for a little over 400 people, etc., and that was all shut down. So of course, the center scrambled to find ways and means that the 600 people would have an opportunity to have the Shabbat meals, because it was on the eve of Shabbat, that we would find a way to still celebrate in whatever manner was possible. And it was wonderful to see how people, yes, certainly it was a little bit disappointing, but people understood the circumstances show us, and we accepted it as we're all here for a reason. And I believe, I believe in my heart, because I've seen it a few times now in situations like this, that because of what we do in the center, spreading the Zohar, teaching people this universal wisdom, and seeing transformation, like we said, more people shining more of their soul's light into the darkness through the challenging times, that the darkness dissipating sweetens the judgment as the Kabbalists call it, meaning judgment is the opportunity to pay back the spiritual debt that you and I have created by our negative actions. And those negative actions, as we read from, Karen, everybody's negativity adds up to create the chaos of the world. Chaos individually and accumulatively, the chaos collectively. And so the fact that people went along with, we understood, we were there to just keep shining light, that we could sweeten the judgment of whatever was going on the physical related to this war, conflict, and just generally all the chaos in the world. Light dissipating the darkness. And therefore, the more you and I are pained by the chaos of the world, the more we need to be motivated to use the tools, most importantly the Zohar, spread it around the world, and let the light that we channel by our individual reading or scanning the Zohar and awakening more of that light, shining it out to the heart and soul of all people, we can wake up the power of the Creator inside everyone. There's no human being on earth who doesn't have the light of God in them. Sadly, I've heard from various people of various religious groups that there's a thought that people other than themselves, whatever their religion or background is, don't have souls. That is how powerful we have allowed that Satan, that AI program, that opposer, challenger in our head to become. That there are people in this world who believe that other people who may not be like them, believe the way they believe, have no soul. In my mind, as I read from Rav Ashlag, learned from the Rav and Karen, the great Kabbalists, the Baal Shem Tov, and various ones, think simple. We all come from this one Creator, which is pure light, unconditional love. The Bible in its coded way says we are created in the image and likeness of God, which means we all have the light of God in us, i.e., we have a soul filled with light. But because of our free will, we've covered up that soul, that pure and perfect light beingness, with various aspects of spiritual mud: anger, jealousy, insecurity, fear, greed, judgment, etc. So we go through the weekend, we had a great connection, we had a good experience, we were able to celebrate. In fact, it got on one of the news channels in Israel that it was actually the end of the wedding that took place on the Sunday after it all started. We finished that process, that celebration, in a bomb shelter. And somebody took a video and it showed up on one of the Israeli news programs that there was celebration. In the bomb shelter. While the war, the fighting, the conflict was going on outside. Consciousness is everything. Do you see the light through the darkness? And therefore do what's necessary to shine that extra light from your soul out into the darkness, to take away the darkness and reveal the light of God and the pure soul, not only of yourself, but of all the other people in the world, as you shine light and awaken more and more of their soul. Well, so we went through that, and then came, of course, the cancellation of all the rest of the events that were supposed to take place. And so now people trying to find a way home, because at that point, the airspace was closed. So people couldn't just go to the airport and take a plane home. So various people went various ways, and there are still people who are in Israel from the center, but hanging out actually in a sense of peace. Some of them took private transportation to go to the graves of the righteous people, to connect with and ask their support, channeling their light into the world to stop the chaos and to strengthen the rest of us to live into our pure and perfect light beingness potential. So there were 4 of us from the center, myself and 3 students, that were given a date to leave. There's a group that does rescues. It's a nonprofit, but they go all around the world to help people out of, whether it's war zones, not only in Israel in this case, but all around the world, disasters, fires, floods, earthquakes, etc. And meeting some of these people, yes, it may not have been Kabbalah, as we call it, but they were living the essence of it. Love your neighbor as yourself, and really putting themselves in harm's way to help strangers. And at the end of the story, of all the precepts, whatever religion you believe in, at the end of using all the Kabbalistic tools to wake up the light inside, the ultimate objective is love your neighbor as yourself. How to help others before ourselves. And so this group, they came, they found a way, and what our group, and it was the 4 of us, me and these 3 other students, but in this group on this day, obviously they can't take thousands and get on buses and go, but in this case they took about 180, I believe it was, 180 to 200 people. We went in 4 buses, and we were given a date. We get on the bus, and they're taking us out of Israel into Jordan. From Jordan, we are planned to go a charter flight to Cyprus. From Cyprus, a charter flight to Tampa that was or is being sponsored, I believe, by the state of Florida. So that was the original plan. So we get on the bus, 4 buses, like I said, 180, 190 people or so. We get to the border of Jordan, and of course we first have to go through the exiting of Israel. So we go through those lines, again 180 to 190 of us. We go through that. Then we have to go, 200 yards. We get to the border of Jordan, and we have to go through immigration. So unfortunately, for the original plan, these 180 people have to go through, and we're all different backgrounds, Jews, Christians, I think even a few Muslims were there, people who had come to Israel for all different reasons. There was a group actually of about think they were almost 40 people who'd come from the Midwest, Texas, Oklahoma. They were, I believe it was 9 ministers and their spouses, and 30 some odd congregants from their various congregations who were going to the holy sites in Israel for them. There were a group of the Orthodox Jews that had various celebrations. There was a group of women who were came actually from Miami, out of one of the synagogues in Miami, to come to Israel, do volunteer work, helping out in various charities. I think in this case they went to go do some support help for the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, things like that. So we were a variety of people. But to get through these lines, of course, 180 people, it didn't go quickly. So by the time we finished, and we finished with all the immigration and what have you, it was already past the time that this group felt it was safe to get to Cyprus, I guess to fly, whatever it was. So we got put up in a hotel in Jordan. Okay. In the morning, yes, we slept a few hours actually, and it was very nice actually. The hotel there, it's the first time I stepped foot in Jordan. The people were very nice. The hotel was very nice. And again, this is all sponsored by the supporters of this nonprofit rescue group at this point. And then came the chartered aspect when we would get to the airport, to Cyprus, and then from Cyprus to Tampa. That was sponsored by the state of Florida. So now there's 4 buses packing up to get to the Jordan airport. And it was very nice. You see along the way people helping. There were a couple men who were helping put the luggage into the buses to speed up the process, things like that. Okay, so we get to the airport. And unfortunately, again, 180, 90 people all showing up. It's a busy international airport. The process was slow. The process was slow. Finally, after a number of hours, we get into the plane to go to Cyprus. We get to Cyprus, and because of the delay, once again, we couldn't just get right onto the plane that was the original plan. We had to sit and wait. And unfortunately, in this case, we waited from probably about 3 in the afternoon. There was word that the charter flight was going to leave at 1:15 a.m. and that we should get in line to get our boarding passes, etc., and go through security. I think it was at 9 o'clock. So here again, we're all waiting. A few people decided with the delay that they were going to take their own individual flights home from Jordan to wherever they needed to go. Some went to Greece, some went to Rome, some went to other places on their own to find their way back. Most of us waited, so we're waiting, we get in line. Oh, and we got to Cyprus, sorry. So we got to Cyprus, and now we're waiting, at 9 o'clock. And we're waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And then we get word that there were various delays, whatever. The manifest that the rescue group had was not given to the people of the airport, whatever, the security administration of the airport. So it was delayed. And by the time it got delayed, whatever, then we heard that there was a plane with no crew. Okay. So now people scrambling at almost midnight on the island of Cyprus in the high season, trying to find hotels. And whatever happened, some people stayed in the hotel or in the airport. Some people found hotels because we were told that things would be straightened out by the next day. And the plan was be at the airport by 2. The flight is going to take off from Cyprus to Tampa at 4:30. Okay. So our group, the 4 of us, we found a hotel, the last rooms in the hotel. We get there, we slept probably 2.5, 3 hours, got up in the morning, had breakfast, and then very nicely there was a group, because now there's a group chat of all the people who are on the way out, making this effort to, get out of whatever, from Israel, Jordan, Cyprus, and back to Tampa. So there was a group in one hotel that had been able to be together, 20 some odd people, and we were able to get on the bus with them to get to the airport. So we all get together, which again, it was nice. There was cooperation, there was assistance, there was care for others. We get to the airport, and again, we're waiting and waiting and waiting. There's certain things. At this point, fortunately, there was an awakening of a little bit of greater certainty for people when we saw the pilots and the crew from the plane show up. But now still came all the administrative, I guess you'd call it red tape that had to be gone through, et cetera, et cetera. So it's delay, delay, delay. We finally get our boarding passes, we go through security, we get on the airplane, and now the pilot's telling us, well, the first initial plan was we would take off, we would stop in Lisbon for adding fuel that we could then go to Tampa. He says, fortunately, we got permission or whatever it is. We're going to put extra fuel in the plane now here in Cyprus, so we can just go directly from Cyprus to Tampa. So of course, everybody's cheering, yay. And the delay, and then we finally take off, and now it's about 12 and a half, 13 hours. We fly, we get to Tampa. Actually, for you and me, and I don't know, it's been put around on various social media. As we're getting off the plane, Ron DeSantis was there, being interviewed and interviewing, some of the passengers that were coming off this plane, sponsored by the state of Florida. As we walk by, one of the people in our group, Rachel, she digs in, because along the way, in these, week or so that the four of us were there, we're handing out pocket Zohars to anyone that we felt was open to it. Some of the rescue people, we shared with them what it was, gave it to them. Some of the people who were in this group, we gave it to them. And so we had given away what we thought was all of them. So magically, here's Rachel asking us if any of us had any left. No. And then she just reaches in her purse, sure that she had given it away, but she's going to take a look anyway. One left, and she gave it to the governor, and we went on. We rented a car, we drove home, and that's the journey. So the thing that I saw that I really want to share with you is this experience for me was like a microcosm of everything I've learned in these last almost 40 years in the center. And it was even more amazing because Kabbalistically we know, and we've often talked about it here, the Bible is a code. Yes, those people existed, those events happened, but it's also a code that the Zohar and the Kabbalists unlock to show us and teach us the universal operating system of the soul, the universal laws that everybody lives by. And let's understand, at least hold the fundamental law. It's all cause and effect. Every action we do comes back to us at some point through some means exactly again. As you and I have talked about it, I call it a spiritual debt. If a person acted with anger 5 years ago in an experience, that anger is not godlike behavior. It becomes spiritual mud hiding the light of that person's soul from shining out into their life and giving them all the blessings that light can bring them. And therefore, cause and effect means that their anger has to go out and create somewhere, somehow, through some means, through some people or circumstances, a situation that wakes up, again, the feeling of anger in that person, so that they have another opportunity to pay their spiritual debt, meaning clean away that spiritual mud of anger by overcoming their anger, inertia, energy, and act with the light of kindness, tolerance, compassion, forgiveness, what have you. Remove the mud, let the light shine. And so I saw through this experience, once we got on the first bus to go, the various behaviors that AI program put in people versus the voice of their soul, their godlike behaviors. So like I said, there were people who were very kind and compassionate. The group, I mean, here were all these different people who had gone to Israel from different parts of the world for different reasons, different religions coming together. And because we were like all in the same situation, you could feel in many ways, or I could feel, like the various usual separations, not even in a negative way, but, you know, like people just go about their business with their group, and okay, maybe not doing anything negative, but not necessarily finding ways to create unity. So here we were together, at least for the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night into Friday morning, and people were conversing and getting along and finding out about different people, and it was very nice. Even people helping people. Like you said, there were some of the ministers that were there with their group who were showing greater kindness to other people. There were the various, Jewish people who were being kind towards each other and towards the other groups, etc. It was like they say about, or used to say about America, the melting pot. Like people could come from all over, and here we were under the same circumstances in the same situation, and there was a lot of kindness and care and help and support going on. Unfortunately, at the same time, I could see the AI program working hard, because the delay at the border, the delays at the airport, and remember, this is all for free. And those of you who know the concept of dissimilarity of form, that is often called bread of shame, enabling, there were people who vociferously were complaining every time something didn't go their way, right? There was a certain plan initially, and like I said, okay, it took longer to do this, that, and the other thing, but the group, the people who were organizing the rescue and the charters were making their effort. It wasn't their fault, so to speak, that the airport didn't have this, that, or wasn't ready, or, were delayed because these were international airports, and they're busy with other flights, etc., etc. But people complaining, and I could see, especially, like we say, the Zohar says that the Bible is a code, and there's a unique energy to each weekly portion that we read. So this week was called Shalachacha. The story, if those of you familiar, Moses sent spies, it was called into the land of Israel, to see whether they could go into the land of Israel. What he was really checking is the consciousness of people. Were they in the tree of life, pure light consciousness, or were they in the tree of knowledge, good and evil, chaos, ego, self-centeredness, etc.? And so we could see that people complaining. It's all free, and now they're complaining. Instead of being appreciative, like most of us, that we were out of the war zone, let's call it. We weren't having missiles even being threatened to be shot at us. And they're complaining. Why don't we have this? Why aren't you doing this? How come you're not helping us that way? Blah, blah, blah. And it was clear how exact, because if you know the story, of the 12 people who went in to, quote, spy scout out the land of Israel, 10 came back, the Kabbalists say, and because of their ego, they came back and said, oh, no, yes, it's the land of milk and honey, but we can't go in there. There's giants, it's too difficult, it's too hard, etc. Instead of accepting the word of God as it's written in the Bible, the God said, yes, okay, there'll be people there, but I, God, or you and I would understand, the light will take away all chaos. Just go with certainty. Shine your light. Light takes away darkness. That's an absolute certainty, guarantee. The 10 said, nope. And 2 said, yes, let's go. Yeah, there were giants, and yes, there were these challenges or whatever. Yes, it's a land of great resources and goodness, etc. And remember, the Creator, the light, is going to go with us. And as it did for all these years in the desert, it's going to create miracles. It'll do the removal of the chaos and the darkness. And this is what I saw. Most of the group appreciative, thankful, patient, and a few of them complaining about their own issues. What about this, that, and the other thing, whatever. And I realized, again, one, for me, where am I not appreciative? Where am I not acting like the light, as Rav Asha calls it? Where am I not making myself into similarity of form with the Creator? Meaning, the Creator's, the light is only love, kindness, compassion, forgiveness, tolerance, gratitude, generosity, humility, etc. Where, in what ways was I not in those states of being, of emanating light? And it just became clear that the hardest thing, and on the plane from Cyprus to Florida, I made myself this note as I was thinking back on this experience. In essence, the hardest thing for people is taking responsibility, accepting responsibility for their actions and for the state of their life. Because over millennium, people have allowed that AI program to cause them to blame others. If a person's not feeling blessed, comfortable, fulfilled, and they're sensing the pain of lack, whatever way that lack shows up, the AI program that we created kicks in. I believe I talked about this a couple weeks ago. The AI program kicks in and gives us in our head justification to blame other people. It's their fault. If they didn't say that, I wouldn't feel bad. If they didn't say that, this trouble wouldn't happen to the person, whatever. Looking for someone to blame for their pain and suffering instead of taking responsibility that there is a law of cause and effect, and if their life looks this way and these things are happening, it's got to be because of something they have done earlier in this lifetime, or even possibly in a past lifetime that hasn't been paid back, the spiritual debt or that spiritual mud removed from their soul. Because if or when, as you and I are taking and accepting responsibility for how we act, again, whatever comes my way, came my way. I didn't pay it back earlier, so it has to show up now to be paid back. So I may not be, let's call it, in control of what comes my way, what manifests in front of me, but I am, and you are, and we are absolutely in control and responsible for how we respond to anything anyone does or says. And that response is what will create the next moments of our life, the shape of our life, the experiences of our life. We are responsible. It is absolutely, to the most minute detail, cause and effect. Once we accept that responsibility and we focus on acting like the light, which shines 24/7 unconditionally on every human being. That's what it means to be God-like. To face the darkness, accept responsibility, pause, and instead of just reacting in a knee-jerk manner, pause, shine light into the darkness so that we take away the light, we manifest illumination and blessings, and we've moved to a higher level of more lasting fulfillment, more of our peace of heaven on earth, and less chaos, pain, suffering. It's all the Zohar is teaching us, the universal laws. But it's up to us, again, with free will, to use them or not use them. The Kabbalists have taught us everything, everyone, from my point of view, is a mirror reflection of me. From your point of view, everyone and everything out there is a mirror reflection of you. Yes, I may not, thank goodness, be going out there committing violence. But at the same time, if I look at somebody who's violent and I have my button pushed of judgment or anger, I have to look at me, look at that as a reflection of me. And yes, I may not be violent, but I have to know if a button of anger and judgment was pushed, because I'm now feeling angry towards that person or judgmental of that person, then I have to look and see how I am that same thing. Obviously, I'm expressing anger. Well, their violent actions is out of their anger or out of their judgment of another person. So mine may be a more minor degree, but it's the same material. And so then I can choose, heaven forbid, to add to judgment and anger. But heaven forbid, if you and I add even a small piece of anger and judgment to violent people or hateful people, we have to understand we are just empowering greater hatred, violence, chaos, destruction. Darkness cannot take away darkness. Hatred does not take away hatred. Anger does not take away anger. Only light will take away the darkness. Period. It's that simple. This is why, as we often talk here every week, Zohar. Help the center spread Zohar all over the world. The light that shines out of the Zohar will reach the heart and soul of people. The enlightenment will help them feel the pain of their negative actions to the point where eventually, with enough pain, they will stop. Light will take away darkness. That's it. And this experience, because of my connection to the center, to the Rav and Karen, and therefore through them, to Rav Ashlag, Rav Brandwein, all the great Kabbalists, back to Rabbi Shimon, which I did get to visit in Israel the week before all this chaos started. I got to go to the place where Rabbi Shimon, if you know the story, in Pekin, he and Rabbi Elazar were buried up to their neck in the dirt for 12 years. And that's where Moses and Elijah the prophet came every day, if you will, to download. What Moses got on Mount Sinai orally was downloaded to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai in that cave. So he could come out of that cave, have put in writing the Zohar, that you and I could have access to it. And that this tool, this most powerful beacon of light, would be available to us in our generation to take away the pain and suffering and the chaos. And so it was clear. I've heard it for almost 40 years. It's come more and more from my head to my heart. but it was all the more clear because it was such an intense, if you will, concentrated experience. As the Rav often said, the physical material world is the tree of knowledge, good and evil. It of itself is just eternal chaos. You cannot remove the chaos from the physical material world through the physical material world. The only way is from the tree of life. The Zohar, bringing light into this world, the actions of acting like the Creator and shining light. It's the only thing will take the darkness away and return the world from the chaos we've created, beginning with our mistake in the Garden of Eden, to this very moment. The only way. It became so clear. And again, everything is cause and effect. So here I was in the airport in Cyprus. And because Cyprus was a gathering place, apparently, for a number of groups that were escaping various aspects of the chaos going on over there. So there were reporters walking around. And one man asked me if I wanted to be interviewed, and I said, for various reasons, no, I didn't want to be put on camera. He says, okay, well, what about being recorded? Okay. So I said, okay. So he starts asking me, look, you know, what's going on with the chaos and this and this. And he saw that obviously I was Jewish. So along the way, you know, where'd I come from, this and this and this. And he says, you know, what's going on with the Iran and Israeli thing? He says, so of course you're picking the side of Israel, aren't you? I said, no, I'm not. He says, well, like you picking the other side? I said, no. He says, you know, which side are you taking? I said, no. I'm taking... I said, the fighting back and forth is just family fighting. It's brothers and sisters fighting with each other. You go back in history, we all come from Adam and Eve, so we're all brothers and sisters. I said, you know, it's stupidity fighting each other. I said, I choose not one side or the other. I choose the side of humanity. Every person on earth comes from one God, whatever name or way you go about worshiping that one creator. But I choose humanity. So fighting between any human being is like a person who fights themselves, who wants to cut off their toe when they bang it because it's their toe, but it's still all part of one being. And he was like, you could see the shock in his face at the answer. And of course he says, I wish we had videotaped this. And part of me said, thinking to myself, yeah, now that the words came out and everything, it might have been good, but hopefully he'll use it anyway. Or if nothing else, I've impacted him who will impact other people. So just in summary, you and I who have the great merit to be connected to the Kabbalah Centre through the classes or even through this, through Spiritual Sunday, we have to decide not to choose sides of which human versus another human. But we have to choose to take the side of humanity against the only enemy there is. The AI program that we put inside our own heads called Satan, the ego, the challenger, the opponent, ultimately the angel of death. That's the real battle. So let's choose with more effort, more consciousness, and more actions to choose the side of humanity over Satan with every action, every day, revealing more light, that with this effort, we will remove all the darkness, we will restore the angel of life from the job of the angel of death. And peace and love and harmony will reign in the world. God bless. Okay, so let's take a minute. Let me put this there. Thank you. It's great that we're all here. Okay. I put the link on the chat here. Whatever you can give, give. But start giving more and more. Or, if you see some other way that you see the end of pain, suffering, and chaos is going to happen, please write me. I'd like to hear what you think are other ways. Because in 40 years and all the teachings of all the Kabbalists and the experiences that I've seen of people around the world, this is our only hope. It's very simple. The Zohar shines light. Take away all the darkness. Everybody sees the truth. And once everybody sees the truth, that we're all one, and that everything that's ever happened to us is a result of our own actions, then the pain and suffering that a person sees and now sees in the light that their suffering is self-imposed, they're going to do what their soul tells them to do. Love, kindness, compassion, generosity, humility, forgiveness, tolerance. And that is what the Messiah is. And that's the beginning of the end of all pain, suffering, and death. So give, and give. Whatever you can give, as often you can give. Supporting the Zohar project. The blessings come back to you 10 times over, and ultimately, the world will be at peace, as it was in the Garden of Eden when we first came out of the endless world, before we disconnected. Okay, let's do this, one of the 72 names of God, Mem, Yud, Hey. The Aramaic letters are just, as the Rav called them, nanoparticles of the light. They shine light, and therefore this combination from what's known as the 72 names of God, Mem, Yud, Hey, awaken the light in our soul. And again, the soul is the same operating system in every human being on earth. Analogous to the liver. There's no Christian liver, Jewish liver, Muslim liver, Buddhist liver. The liver operates the same way in every human being, regardless of who they are, what they are, where they are, how they are, etc. This name, Mem Yud Hey, is to activate the power of unity and oneness. So let the letters be engraved, the shapes in your mind's eye, Mem Yud Hey, the names of the letters. And then I ask you, sit comfortably in your seat, hands on your lap, feet flat on the floor. Take a few deep breaths, relaxing into the light of God inside you and all around you. Breathing in through the nose, the light of God, the life of light. Hold the breath for a moment and exhale through the mouth, letting go of all the tension, stress, discord. Letting go of all separation from your connection to your pure, 100% filled, light-filled soul. relax. Begin the conscious effort to experience the light that's inside you. Feel the light all around you, because the Creator's light is infinite. We are immersed, all the universe, in a sea of light. Allow yourself, as you're relaxing, inhaling the breath of life, letting it flow and awaken the pure light inside you, and exhaling anything that's not light-like. Acknowledging that pure energy of light, which is unconditional love. The true love, which in and of itself is unity. And together we envision the Mem Yud Hey, this energy formula of pure unity and oneness that is the truth of all humanity. There is only one soul extended out into 8.5 billion bodies. But it is one soul of the light of the Creator. See the Mem Yud Hey shining, vibrating with this light, this pure light of the Creator, the power to bring all of the separate pieces together into unity. The separateness only exists when a person perceives with the 5 physical senses. Unity exists in truth, but can only be perceived when we look with the eyes of our heart. And so let's allow the Mem Yud Hey that's shining with this light of pure unity, truth, and oneness. Allow it to enter through the top of your head, activating a higher level of the light that's inside your soul, that is one with all humanity and one with the Creator. Allow the Mem Yud Hey to flow from head to toe, activating in every part of your being, physically and spiritually, the infinite light, the light of oneness, unity, the light of the Creator, the light to give each of us the added strength we need when we've hit a wall, to break through that wall and shine greater light of love and kindness, generosity, compassion, appreciation, forgiveness, greater certainty in our ability to channel light, to have all the good blessings that the Creator has given us already. Specifically allow the Mem Yud Hey to be intensified in your consciousness, in the brain so that it only receives the voice of the Creator and filtering out the voice of the opponent. And also the Mem Yud Hey in your heart and soul that filters out all of the cold hard-heartedness that we've carried for all the right/wrong reasons, and allow only the pure light, unconditional love, God-like, light-like, unconditional love to be awakened and be our guide. And let's together in oneness and unity beam a beacon of light of the Mem Yud Hey out from our heart and soul and extend it by a conscious, focused thought. Extend that beam of Mem Yud Hey light from our heart and soul to the heart and soul of every human being on earth. Piercing their mud, piercing their blockages, reaching into their soul, activating very intensively the Mem Yud Hey energy of oneness, unity, that every one of us, every human being on earth, feeling the awakening of pain for our anger, animosity, judgment, any reactive, unlight-like behavior, that we feel the pain strong enough that we are intensively motivated to remove that pain by greater actions of consciously shining our light into the darkness with great desire doing greater actions of love, generosity, kindness, forgiveness, tolerance, where we felt to do the opposite. Notice the more you're truly committing yourself to those actions of unconditional sharing of your light. Take note how you already begin to feel a sense of greater peace, serenity, certainty, the greater fulfillment is already happening in your life. Greater clarity and guidance from your soul taking place now. That all of us together, moving closer and more consistently to the path of the light. That is leading us to the ultimate end, to be in the Garden of Eden, peace on earth, love and unity among all humanity. Let's each of us take upon ourselves the commitment to do at least one more action of uncomfortable sharing our light to the heart and soul of people that we've had resistance towards, differences of opinions, divisiveness. Every day, at least one more action of shining light in their heart soul, shining light on them and everyone. Mem, Yud, Hey. Bringing the final redemption from chaos by means of unity and oneness. And to anchor this into our heart and soul as powerfully as we can now. Taking one more deep breath, solidifying it, and slowly exhale and open your eyes. Thank you for joining us. Please share this with others. You know, someone was saying yesterday, a group I had over at my house, that in essence, in a positive, light way, it's all a numbers game. There are people out in the world who are on the verge of looking for what we have here. So as you send this out through all the various social media that you have to millions and millions of people, even if only 1% of the people you send it out to is affected and wakes up, as you and I are waking up more and more. Think how many tens of thousands, millions of people will experience more light, because every one person who's acting with greater love, kindness, and compassion means that there are dozens of people directly being affected by the light versus actions of anger, animosity, jealousy, judgment. And then those people are having that spiritual awakening, and dozens or hundreds directly from them. Again, less darkness, more light. And it goes on and on. So as we put this out there, and I thank you for doing it, the faster we all benefit from the removal of darkness, the weakening and dissipating of that power of the AI program to its ultimate end, which it was programmed to have an end. What we're doing is using our free will to speed up the end that will happen now, in our lifetime now, versus waiting another 200 years. God bless. Please share with me your miracles, even your thoughts and your questions. Have a light-filled day, evening, and week until we meet again. Bezat Hashem next week. Thank you for joining us. If you liked what you saw, click the subscribe button so you'll be notified of future videos as we post them. Would also love to hear your comments and questions, whether it's about this video in particular or about the wisdom of Kabbalah as we teach it in the Kabbalah Centre. If you'd like to learn more about various subjects, go to our website, www.kabbalah.com. We have thousands of articles and classes on various subjects within the wisdom of Kabbalah. Share this video with other people. If you were inspired and it can change your life, let's start changing thousands and thousands of people's lives around the world also. If you'd like to contribute in support of Spiritual Sunday and the projects of the Kabbalah Centre, that link is also below. I wish you an amazing day, afternoon, evening, wherever you may be out there, and may God bless us all that we awaken the light of the Creator not only inside us to a higher level, but touching the heart and soul of every human being on earth with the light of the Creator.